Nation, we're back at you with another post game pod. This one we're gonna keep short because honestly, there's not too much to talk about. This was a pretty embarrassing performance, especially in that third quarter. The first half was embarrassing as a whole, both Bulls and Pelicans, and we kind of discussed that in the halftime show. But I'm joined as always by the crew. Josh, what is good, man? How's it going?
What's going on? This game was pretty disappointing. Just happy to get out of the way, really.
Honestly,
Yeah,
yeah, I was kind of losing focus. I turned on the end of that Mavs Nuggets game, which was pretty fun. But Stevie's also on the line. What's up, Stevie? How's it going?
yeah, man. Pretty crappy Bulls game. I mean, I thought this was a win for them, but yeah, defense sucked. Offense wasn't much better.
Yeah, that's one thing that was clearly like. So the first thing that I thought of was, oh, the offense generally is shitty in the second half, or like there's stretches where the offense is really bad. But the defense is generally there, so it doesn't get like out of hand, and that's why the Bulls haven't really been having those like really embarrassing games like we chatted about the other day. They've just kind of been losing normal hard fought games by offensive stagnation. But when the defense goes along with it, it becomes that third quarter where it's a 44-point quarter for the Pelicans, and the Bulls aren't really doing anything either, and the lead balloons up to like 20 real quick. Josh, what did you think? What was the problem?
Yeah, the Bulls' defense got really messy, and as soon as that bench checked in, it got really out of hand. Hutchison was awful. A few of these dudes were awful. Archie Giacono was playing minutes, awful. Kobe White, awful. I just don't think really the Bulls could match the intensity that which the Pelicans were playing with.
Stevie, what do you think was the
Yeah.
problem?
So I just pulled up the cleaning the glass stats, and defensive rebounding was a massive issue for the Bulls, and it just seemed like they got out efforted by out efforted's not even a word, but there was just lack of effort on the glass. They seem to be really missing Wendell. I think I saw a tweet from one of you guys. Wendell just seems to be really a really strong anchor in the paint there and rotating over. And even though he's a young guy, he seems to make the right calls, and they really seem to miss him. Lowry struggled on offense, obviously a big Zach game, but I really did notice that the defensive scheme tonight just didn't work with the Wendell out.
32 points for Zach Lavine though, 13 of 24, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. The Wendell effect was there, but another like was Zach Levine getting frustrated out there because he wasn't passing, and I say this a lot because it does irk me even when Zach Levine has a good game. It's just like he doesn't make any plays, and but if he's gonna make plays, who he's gonna make the plays to? So I kind of get that aspect of the game of the thing too, like the argument of, oh, but if he passes then they can't make plays. Josh, like, what do you think of Zach? Like, do you think he is frustrated? Do you think he deserves to be frustrated? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, I think the first part too. I mean, Zach did have 6 assists tonight compared to Satoransky's one. So I think Zach did an all right job of getting his teammates involved, especially in that first half. But the second half, when it really gets to him, the team relying on him to get them points when the team is actually not really doing much on the other end. And it's almost like it falls into Zach Levine's hands to win the Bulls a game. I actually thought he was going to do it when he hit back-to-back threes. The Bulls cut it to 10, but at that point the game was over. And I think he is getting pretty frustrated with the team. I remember, if I remember clearly, he looked pretty pissed off when the Bulls called a timeout after going down like 18 points. He looked really frustrated. So I don't blame Zach Levine in terms of how he's feeling because his team sucks. And when you're tied, when it's a tie game at halftime, and somehow it goes to a 21-point game in the third quarter, you're losing by 21. Like something's got to fall onto the rest of the roster and the coaching staff. And one thing I want to point out with the coaching staff quickly too is Jackson Hayes was slipping a lot of screens tonight, and the Bulls did nothing to counter that. There was no adjustments being made all night, and that was really frustrating.
Yeah, the matchup of the bigs as well. I mean, the if you looked at the bigs that scored tonight, like Thaddeus Young was probably playing a bit of three, even if Ingram was playing the four, he was guarding him, but just got killed there with the rebounding. And in terms of the offense, the second unit really struggled to get going. Even for the game, the score to only lose by 15, we had 15 points from Chris Dunn and 18 points from Thaddeus Young, which is is definitely an outlier on the season. So they're probably lucky it wasn't a lot more. Really, really struggling defensively to contain the shooters. As I talked about earlier, that the defensive scheme does struggle without Wendell there. But touching on Zach, I mean, 32 points. He seems to be getting to the rim a lot easier in the last couple of games, sort of shooting 60 or 70% inside the arc. I could see him getting frustrated there, but a quiet Lowry game didn't help. And then Kobe White was only 5 of 10, but he just seemed to not be making the right option, not taking the right option when he was in space. And 0 points from Daniel Gafford when you take out Wendell not playing and then Lowry playing a lot of center. It meant you really had no big man production underneath the rim. And at the end of the day, the Bulls shot 40% on threes, so the difference was probably not really getting anything at the rim on offense.
Man, Jackson Hayes looks like an all-star against us. I feel like the last game he was going pretty hard too. 14 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, and it seems like he's just everywhere on the defensive end. It's more because we were making it really easy for him to play really good defense, but it's also because he had energy and the Bulls didn't. Like, what's with this lack of energy and spirit, Josh?
Don't mention that S word ever again on the show.
I did it on purpose.
Man, the spirit thing, I don't know, the Bulls look really down, especially when they are getting scorched like they did tonight. You can see the frustration on the bench when Jim Boylan brought in the Luke Cornets and the Ryan Archie-Diaconos and the Shaq Harrison to close this game out. So they're not playing, like, it doesn't look like they're enjoying playing out. It's like there's 5 Larry Markin Novembers out there in terms of the facial expression not being excitement. And I don't really know what to put on this. I think they're probably just really frustrated with how they're blowing these leads. And it's just the little things like winning 50-50 balls, like Hutch not being able to box out Brandon Ingram, like stupid little things like that, which is really losing the Bulls these games. I know Stevie said it quite a few times, but we keep coming back to it. And the Bulls, it's just these little things that are losing them these games.
Yeah, and it's starting to feel more like early season Bulls instead of the slightly seems like they might turn it around and be competitive Bulls that we were getting the past maybe month and a half, which isn't a good feeling. But I'm not trying to take this one too long, honestly. Stevie, anything else that you want to talk about here?
No, not really. I think a real positive has been we've seen Zach getting back to his really strong sort of finishing at the rim. I know that Hutch didn't really have the greatest game, and then I tweeted it's great he was getting to the line and then he would end up being 3 of 6, but at least it's another body there who's going to be fit. I do overall like Hutch's game. That's really the only, just seeing him out there and Zach having a strong game are the only couple of positives I'd take.
What about the 50% from Chris Dunn from 3, 6 of 3 from the 3-point line actually hitting some shots?
It's going to happen. Huh? I honestly thought that he's a league average 3-point shooter, and I thought that he was going to regress to the mean. He's probably going to have a couple of good shooting games coming up.
That's a good point. Josh, anything you want to touch on?
Yeah, a few little points. Chris Dunn had a really nice game, but yet he barely played in the second half. Sato was terrible. Lavine played really nicely. Markin at center did not work. Gafford is clearly nowhere near as good as Jackson Hayes is, because they both play pretty similar. They both play like close to the same in terms of rim running, blocking shots, sort of thing. And I think Thaddeus Young had an all right game too as a starter. 7 for 16. He played all right.
100%. And honestly, like, we're all our voices are down, our energy and mood is down. So we recorded a really long and fun podcast yesterday with Big Dave. Go check that one out. We discuss, honestly, these players and how, if they're living up to their contracts or not. And we got pretty heated. All 3 of us, me, Josh, and Dave, had a lot of takes and a lot of thoughts. So go check that one out. We're keeping this one short. Thanks for hopping on yet again. Hit us up at Bullish Hoops. DM us, chat with us. We're always open to talk. We'll talk to you guys next time, though. Peace.